Hey guys, Sean here. Welcome to the F1 Word. And yes, it's that time of year once again. That time of year, or I say it's that time of year again, but also time for my 2021 predictions. Apparently, I've come down with a cold, so apologies for the voice in this one, but whatever. I'm not going to whinge about it. I'm just going to get on with it. He says whinging about it, but yeah. As was the case last year, I'll be dividing them up into two videos. So that's my Drivers' Championship predictions, which will be out later this week. And so today I'm going to be focusing on the Constructors Championship. Quick note, as always when it comes to these predictions, please remember that these are just a little bit of fun and you really should not take them too seriously. They will be terrible, I promise you that. So without further ado, let's crack on with it. I'm going to start in reverse championship order initially. So in 10th place, I've gone with Aston. In 9th place, I've put Williams. This, I think, will be a very close battle between the two teams. No real doubt about that in my mind. Last year, for example, there were just 3 points between them, and it would only take one crazy race for that to perhaps swing either way. And when you look at the difference in direction that each team is heading, I can't see Haas suddenly pulling away from Williams in 2021. Since that miserable winter of 2019, the Williams team has made steady progression. Nothing spectacular, but steady, and they definitely appear to be a team on the up. On the other hand, though, Haas have been on the decline, and ended last year with arguably the slowest car on the grid. If you couple that with Gunther Steiner saying that his team will, from more or less now, only be focusing on the 2022 car, and team boss Simon Roberts saying that Williams won't write off this season in the same way, immediately at least, I reckon this is a great opportunity for the Grove outfit to move up a place in the championship and bank the extra money that comes with it. We also have to remember that with two rookie drivers for this season coming in, Haas won't be getting the same level of feedback that it had from its previous, more experienced lineup. That will be a factor, but that said, it's not as if Williams have a massively experienced lineup either. One thing I will add, though, is that if both teams struggle, we might see a bit of an odd shootout. Now, next season, the team that finishes last in this year's championship will be allocated the most amount of wind tunnel time for 2022 with 115%, and that is 5% more than the team finishing in 9th place. Of course, no team wants to finish last, and I'm not saying that teams will definitely try to do that, but it is something worth bearing in mind for this year. It could have its strategical benefits, and that's something teams will have to weigh up versus the extra prize money for finishing higher in the standings. It's a fascinating little extra to this season's dynamic. I'm predicting another 8th place finish for Alfa Romeo this season, and if they were to do that, it would be the third year running that the team under just the Alfa name has finished in that position. Last year, Alfa Romeo seemed to be just quick enough to fend off any potential challenge from Haas and Williams, but not quite quick enough to be able to take the fight to the teams ahead, and I think that's what we're going to be looking at again this season, a very similar story. But it's not at all beyond the realm of possibility that they could get sucked into that battle with the two teams behind them, especially if the team decides to shift focus onto the 2022 car early. Because here's the thing, whilst I find it really hard to believe any team will 100% write off this season, the massive regulation change is an opportunity for the teams at the back to make a big leap forward, and in many ways, they'd be crazy not to take that opportunity. So if Alfa Romeo can keep Haas and Williams behind them early on and maybe nab a few good points, focus could, in theory, be moved more quickly to next year's car. And to be honest, this season feels like it really will be more about 2022 than 2021 for those teams towards the back of the grid. I think AlphaTauri will be looking at 7th place again this year. I feel like they were one of the big surprise packages of 2020 and weren't all that far off Ferrari in 6th place in the end, were they? But I don't think they will be as close to that midfield pack as they were last year. For one, I do fully expect Ferrari to improve, but also Yuki Tsunoda will be taking part in his first ever season. It might take him a little while to get up to speed, which in turn could cost the team points early on in the season. Then again, he might hop in that car and stun the lot of us. After all, he is a very quick guy. But anyway, I think AlphaTauri will have a good season, and they should be well clear of the bottom 3 again. But I don't believe the consistency will be there to challenge for a higher championship finish. Of course, we could see, like at Imola last year, for example, they are right up there some weekends, maybe even as the 3rd or 4th quickest car. But again, I don't think we're going to see that every single race. I guess what I'm saying, kind of like I did about Alfa Romeo, is that they too likely will be looking at a very similar story to 2020. And for the record, I don't think 7th would be a bad result for AlphaTauri at all. Okay, so weirdly at this point, I'm going to jump into the top 2 in the championship, mainly because I'm struggling with that midfield pack massively, and this one is, quite frankly, pretty easy. Shock of all shocks, I've gone with Mercedes to make it 8 in a row this year, and as for why, I mean, what can I say, really? They will probably have the best car on the grid. The driver lineup is unchanged, and it's a lineup we know works very well. and I just don't see how any other team can challenge them for the title unless Merc somehow messes up the 2021 car, a car that is, don't forget, largely the same as the dominant car from last year. And that's something I just cannot see happening. I honestly don't know what else to say. I would be shocked if they didn't win the title this year. So I'm not going to sit here and just ramble on about it because I think we all know that they are comfortably the favourites. And that's also the case for second place, which I'm pretty sure is going to be Red Bull. The team was well clear of P3 last year, and if Sergio Perez can deliver the top end points that car should be consistently scoring, it should in theory be another comfortable P2 for them again this year. They could challenge, maybe, but I don't want to get sucked into that again this season. We always seem to get excited about a potential Red Bull challenge, and it never really happens. What they do need to do, undoubtedly, is hit the ground running from race 1. How often over the last few years have we seen them look really strong in pre-season, end up being further away than they expected for the first few races, and then not really getting going properly until the summer? If they can take the fight to Mercedes from Bahrain all the way to Abu Dhabi, maybe they will give us the title fight we are all so desperate for. But anyway, because this is a pretty obvious prediction, I'm going to make it a little bit more interesting. This is generally the point where I make a complete fool of myself. But anyway, last year, Red Bull finished 254 points behind Mercedes. However, assuming Perez can get to grips with that car and take points away from Mercedes at some races, Verstappen keeps doing what he's been doing and Honda's new power unit gives the team the boost it's hoping for, I'm going to, perhaps boldly and some might say unrealistically, say that Red Bull will finish within 100 points of Mercedes this year. Probably more out of hope than expectation, I'll admit that. But hopefully we'll see a much closer fight between the two teams this year, but I still fully expect Mercedes to come out on top. Right then, back to reverse championship order, and this is where I really start to struggle, and I'm sure I'm not alone with that. Last season, the battle between McLaren, Racing Point, Renault and Ferrari was so close, and there were twists and turns all season. And I reckon it will be even closer in 2021, so bring it on. But as much as I'm struggling, I've got to order them, so I've gone with Alpine in 6th, one place lower than last year. The main reason behind that is that I do think Ferrari will take a step forward and be closer to the top 3 than they were last season. Not necessarily that the Enstone squad will be worse off or will struggle, because I just don't believe they will. And you really can't rule them out at all, because the power unit was really strong, surprisingly strong last year. And although he has had a couple of years away, we know Fernando Alonso can drag any car to a very strong result, so he could well be the one to make the difference if things are tight with any of those ahead. But we have to remember that whilst Alpine and Ferrari will likely take a step forward, so will the other teams. That said, the team's goal for this coming season is to secure more podiums than it did last year, so if there is a confidence it can achieve that, Alpine could be a real dark horse this year, but I'm still going to say 6th place. 5th place, and this maybe feels a little bit harsh, but I've gone for Aston Martin. So yeah, this year's Aston will fundamentally still be a further updated version of the 2019 Mercedes, and that means they will likely be seriously quick, and there should be a lot of optimism from the team about its chances this year. In fact, Otmar Safnauer's minimum target is 3rd in the standings. However, as I've already mentioned, Ferrari will, at least in my opinion, make a leap forward. And quite honestly, I think McLaren and Ferrari have overall stronger combined driver lineups. And like I said about Fernando Alonso, in an extremely congested midfield, that could be the difference between finishing 3rd and finishing in 5th. That's not to say I think Sebastian Vettel and Lance Stroll will disappoint, because I don't think that at all. I actually believe that Stroll will continue to improve, and 2021 represents a chance for Seb to reset and refocus. I think they will do well, as will the team. And whilst I think they will fall short of that 3rd place target, it's going to be close, and I don't expect them to miss out by much. As I've already said a few times, and I will likely say for most of this season, the midfield will be so competitive and so close that this really could all go either way and might even hinge on 1 or 2 good or bad results. Honestly, I cannot wait to see how all of this unfolds. 4th place, I am going with Ferrari. Yeah, I sounded really convincing there, didn't I? But I am going to go with Ferrari in 4th place. The Scuderia will have a new power unit for 2021, which, according to Mattia Binotto at least, is looking good for the upcoming campaign and is a big step forward compared to last year's unit. Frankly, can't be much worse, but great to hear they're improving. And the team is another one, also aiming for a minimum of 3rd in the standings, but it is not expecting to challenge the likes of Mercedes and Red Bull. And whilst there seems to be a lot of optimism about the step forward taken, as I said earlier, we, and indeed Ferrari, can't ignore the fact that other teams and engine manufacturers will also have made progress. Third place, don't get me wrong, is absolutely doable. And if Carlos Sainz can get to grips with that car in a way that Sebastian Vettel couldn't last year, and therefore back up the results we know Charles Leclerc can bring in, they might just do it. But ultimately, whilst they will climb the grid, I think they will just fall short of P3. Which means, you already know what this is going to be, I'm predicting McLaren will win the midfield battle and take third place in the Constructors' Championship once again. The team had a really strong 2020, didn't they, and managed to snatch that third place in the standings at the final race. And it was great to see them up there, once again in third place. It's been so long. And I've just got a really good feeling about the team this year. Yeah, there is a change in driver lineup, but they've replaced one very good driver with another very good driver. So I don't think that's going to hit them too hard, if at all. But 2021 also sees the return of the McLaren-Mercedes partnership that has proven so successful over the years. And although I'm not going to get people all excited about the idea of a title challenge or anything crazy like that, I really do think that will help them to cement third place in the standings. They're definitely a team on the up and they seem to be progressing year on year. I am going to throw in a word of caution at this point though. McLaren's development tokens have had to go on integrating the new power unit into the car, meaning that any changes elsewhere will be minimal at best. And that is why the car was developed so much towards the back end of last season so they could carry it over. So that is something to keep an eye on this year, but I'm still very confident they are looking good for third. And I will throw in an extra prediction when it comes to McLaren. I'm going to say that for the first time since 2012, the team will win a Grand Prix. Why do I get the feeling I'm going to regret that? So to confirm super quickly, my final Constructors' Championship predictions are Mercedes taking the title. I've then gone for Red Bull closer in second place, third place for McLaren, fourth for Ferrari, fifth for Aston Martin and sixth for Alpine. Those four teams there, that could go either way. It's just going to be that close. AlphaTauri, a comfortable and perhaps lonely seventh place. Alfa Romeo in eighth. And then it's Williams in ninth and Haas bringing up the field in 10th place. There we have it then. They are my 2021 team predictions. But what do you guys think? You can, of course, let me know your Constructors' Championship predictions down in the comment section. And once again, please remember, do not take these too seriously. They are, after all, just a little bit of fun. Now, I will be back later this week with my Drivers' Championship predictions, but in the meantime, if you did enjoy this video, then please do drop a like as it really helps out the channel. And don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss out on any future content. But as ever, thank you for watching. I've been Sean, this has been the F1 Word, and until next time, goodbye.